How's it going, guys? My name is James and I moved about 3 months ago to this beautiful country of Japan. I just wanted to talk about the recent opening of the borders. People are so eager to visit, but they don't quite understand why there's still travel regulations. And in this video, I hope to answer all your questions on why I believe these travel restrictions still do exist. Number two, I want to talk about why you should visit Japan as soon as you can. And number three, I'm going to talk about when I think Japan is going to open up. Over the last 2.5 years, because of the pandemic, Japan has remained closed for most people. Slowly, they opened it up to people with family. They opened it up to people with business, and only recently did they open it up to students as well. And now they announced that they are going to start experimenting with tourist groups. When I say tourist groups, that comes with a huge asterisk. That is going to be extremely restricted in the beginning. You have to book through a specific agency that will monitor the behavior of the tourists. Not sure what exactly that means, but the chances of you getting in this month are extremely low. If you do the math, it's about 12 people from America will be allowed in. Even once you're allowed in, you will be under heavy regulations. In order to understand why those regulations are in place, we need to go back, talk about the history of how Japan has handled the pandemic and what things that they value. In 2020, Japan closed its borders to almost all international visitors, including people with family, business, and studies here. And a lot of critics were not happy about that. When I lived in America, I had the chance to live in multiple states, but most recently I lived about 1 year in Idaho. When you compare places in the free world, Japan may be considered the absolute opposite of Idaho in terms of people's thought processes and geography, and it's just a wide open place in the middle of the United States, but there's plenty of space for people to move around. Over the past year, the opinion is the pandemic is over. In many ways, I think that has benefited the economy, but in Japan, that way of thinking would have cost many more lives. There have been some studies suggesting certain nationalities are at higher risk of dying. Without even considering those studies, Japan should have one of the highest infection rates just because of the relative lack of space, the dense population, tighter stores in general, and a widely used public transportation system. When you compare it to countries like the United States, which have more space per person, everybody has their own personal vehicle, and plenty of options for social distancing, you think, okay, Japan should have a higher death rate. Japan has lost only 30,000 people due to this pandemic, while America, albeit 3 times the size, has lost 1 million people, which has infinitely more space per person, larger apartments, larger restaurants, larger stores. Japan literally had nothing going for it except for one thing. I believe that one big thing is cooperation. Just everybody is doing their part to reduce the amount of death. Now you look at the numbers, you can see that it did work. However, there are positives and negatives to both sides. In Japan, they had less deaths. In America, you may see that there was more deaths, but there were new businesses. The economy did great. Which leads me to my next point, which is why you should visit Japan as soon as you can. Quite simply, the economy has struggled. Because of its response and people limiting social distancing, limiting travel, less business was done internationally. That had a massive effect on the health of the economy, which led to less spending, which led to prices being lowered and the yen being weakened. For people visiting overseas, this is an amazing thing because it gives you a much higher buying power with your foreign currency. In addition to hotels, meals, and souvenirs being a lot cheaper in price, you're getting an additional 20–30% off just because of the weakened yen. As an example of things getting cheaper, this boat rental was 600 yen. 3 years ago would have been right about $6, but now just because of the yen losing value, it was just under $4. Not saying this is the most amazing experience ever, but for under $4, definitely worth it. Anyway, despite there being a high buying power right now because of the yen being so low, I do not believe that this can last forever. As they start letting people in, people are gonna start spending money here, especially because things are so cheap. Basically, take advantage of it now. When you do come, be respectful. Realize this is not America, and realize that there are positives that come with that. Yes, there are some negatives, but there's a lot of positives. that can be enjoyed here. Those first 12 people that are allowed in, if those people show that they can follow the guidelines, then Japan will have less to fear. Eventually it is going to open up and the pandemic can be over here, just like it has been over in Idaho for the last little bit. With all that being said, please consider subscribing and we will catch you in the next video. See ya.